This season, Mary Fowler has been incredible. However, many people don't seem to be appreciating her quality. In this video, we discuss just how good she is, how important she is to Manchester City, and the numbers that show she's up there with the best in the WSL. This is why Mary Fowler is the most underrated player in women's football. Alright, let's talk about Mary Fowler then. She has been fantastic this season in the WSL, and that's why today I want to talk about, is she the most underrated player in women's football in a whole? Harry, it's quite an interesting conversation. She's been very good this season. I think perhaps accolades going under the radar.
Yeah, very much so. I think it's been especially in what's been a tough period for Man City in the last couple of game weeks, it feels like Fowler's got better as City have got worse. It's a really bizarre scenario for a player's form to get, to be improving while her team's performances aren't doing as well. But that's a testament to how well Fowler's playing right now, is that she's shining despite the problems that Man City are experiencing right now. And while players, I think, like Viviana Miedema are getting the plaudits because she's come in and started scoring goals, because Firmino's starting to up their performances, Mary Fowler, I think, also deserves to get her flowers for what has been a really good period, but overall a really solid season.
Yeah, and let's start by talking about those base numbers this season then, because she's notched up 10 goal contributions, which is the most of any player in the WSL. She drew level with Bunny Shaw recently, so clearly she's doing something very good. 10 goal contributions also matches her tally from last season, and we're just over halfway through this campaign, so you can see there a clear improvement. The big difference has been her directness this season. She's gone last season from 4 goals and 6 assists to 6 goals and 4 assists. And now part of that will be the difference in the role she's playing in the side. When she was playing last season, it was exclusively pretty much in a front three of Hemp, Shaw, Fowler.
Yeah.
So she was playing on that right hand side. And a lot of the job of that right winger in the City system is to create chances for the other two forward players. We've seen that with Ayoba Firmino in recent weeks. He's another player who I think is criminally underrated by WSL fans, a very talented footballer. But yeah, I think Mary Fowler was playing that creative role. This season, we've seen her play on the left, we've seen her play through the middle, we've also seen her play on the right, but that right-hand side has been a bit more of a direct role this season at times. And so we've seen Mary Fowler be a lot more aggressive. And let's start by looking at her FBref profile then as well, because this shows the quality of player here. And then we can compare last season's statistics to this season's underlying numbers to look at where that disparity is. So looking at her FBref profile in general, 91st percentile for expected assists. And again, this takes into account the last 365 days. So that is a long time period, and her role has changed slightly in that time. But 0.41 expected assists, 0.41 assists. So putting pretty much on par of what should be the performance she should be putting up. 83rd percentile for assists, 91st percentile for expected assists. Shot creating actions at 5.02, 86th percentile. Progressive passes, 4.57, 81st percentile. So ranking very well in those statistics. Where perhaps she's let down a little bit on her profile is that attacking aspect. It's the goal scoring aspect. Shots total 1.94 per 90, that's down in the 27th percentile. Non-pen XG 0.22 per 90, that's in the 40th percentile. Non-pen goals slightly higher, 0.41, and that's in the 73rd percentile. So what we can see there is she was still scoring at a decent rate, but she wasn't really getting in positions to score. It was just that she was such a talented player, she would score anyway. The difference between that last season and this season, a lot more direct, and her shooting has been much better. So comparing last season to this campaign then, you can see at the top here, I put some of the scoring statistics. They are all green. There's all an improvement there. At the bottom, there's some of the more dribbling, more wide player statistics, and they are all a little bit lower. So goals this season have gone up to 0.65. That's up from 0.31. And I'm using per 90 statistics here because it's easy to compare, considering obviously we've not had as long this season yet. Shots total up at 2.04. That's a small improvement on 1.92. Shots on target, a big improvement from 0.77 to 0.97. So we can see a lot more accuracy as well with her attempts. The other thing she had to her game this season is that she started taking penalties. So while last season she had scored 0.00 penalties, she didn't take any. This season 0.22. And obviously in the absence of Shaw, she has stepped up in that role, which is a really nice thing to add to her game. And the other thing she's improved on is XG, where she's doubled from 0.19 per 90 to 0.38. So huge improvements. But as you can see on the screen, shot creating actions, touches, successful take-ons, and touches in the attacking penalty area, all down. Now, this points to two things. One, obviously, a slight change in role for Mary Fowler.
Yeah.
And two, City are much less dominant. so that they're not camped in the opposition half, they're not having as much possession as they had last season, they're not having as much dominance as they were last season. So while she is finishing more chances, they're having less of the ball, and she's being less involved in a sense in Manchester City's in possession football.
Yeah, I think it also. I mean, obviously, sometimes you can look at it and it can seem a bit of a negative that the likes of her dribbles are down. But I think the other way you can look at it is that it perhaps shows that she isn't holding on for it as long as she used to. In terms of she's shifting that ball, and whether that's getting a shot away, whether that's playing a pass and setting someone up, it's just much sharper. And I think that, obviously the big thing is that her numbers have been elevated because she's had to step up without Shaw, without Hemp, and as you say, with those penalties, that's something that she's benefited from. But overall, I think it shows that she's just become much more of a dangerous player. She's becoming the type of player that you do have to be very mindful of where she is. When last season, when you had that Man City front line with the Man City team, you'd go, right, as an opposition, you'd go, right, well, we'll take Khadija Shaw at the game, we'll take Lauren Hemp at the game, and then we'll just deal with everyone else. But Mary Fowler this season has become a player that has to be very closely watched by opposition because she's become so deadly in front of goal, whether that's scoring herself or setting someone up. And it's a really big improvement for her because it's turned, she's putting up the numbers, and the difference between this season and last season is, it's starting to turn her into a much better player and kind of leaving that like regular starter, decent player in terms of being, and now she's becoming quite a big part of this Man City squad, and a lot of things this season they can thank for her. There's been games this season where they wouldn't have been in them if it wasn't for Mary Fowler's goal. I mean, even recently, I don't think they'd have beaten Aston Villa if it wasn't for Fowler's scoring that absolute beauty and having a really good game. So Fowler's starting to become, and has become this season, a player that can make a real difference on the pitch.
Well, yeah, you alluded to it there, that she has gone from being a rotational player or a squad player to being one of the key starters, and we'll come back to that in a moment. One aspect I want to talk about quickly before that is her two-footedness. Because we've seen this season, penalty was taken with her right foot, goal against Aston Villa went top corner was taken with her left foot. And that is an incredible versatility. The fact that she can go either way, it makes her a very dangerous player. It's why she's such an effective attacking player. Because she can play either side, she can play through the middle, she can go outside, she can go inside, wherever she's playing on the pitch. And that ambidextrousness is very useful because it's created a player who is very difficult to mark, because if you block the wide channel, well, she'll just come inside. If you block the inside, she's going to take it out wide, she's going to put a good ball into the box. And I think that versatility, which is a very unique aspect amongst forwards. There aren't many in the league who are that good on both feet, that are that versatile. So it makes her a real threat for teams because you don't know how to handle her. And we've seen that this season where defenders try and force her one way, well, she'll simply go the other, and she'll still be incredibly strong. So it does create a very difficult prospect, because how do you mark against something like that? As a defender, you want to force the play one way or the other. If it's someone that you think is going to cut inside and shoot with their left foot, you want to force them out wide. But if it's Mary Fowler and she can take up the line and then cross it in, then it's very difficult to know what to do there. So that is a hugely useful attribute. Talking about stepping up this season, obviously stepped up massively in the absence of Lauren Hemp and Khadija Shaw recently, and that's been a huge help to Manchester City. She's also stepped up in terms of last season. She was very much a rotational player behind the front line of Hemp, Shaw and Chloe Kelly. However, this season, we sort of saw it from match week 1, she came into a starting role. Now, obviously, there's controversy surrounding that, and it is probably worth talking about, did she deserve to be brought into that role? But she has definitely blossomed because of it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where, based on last season, I think Gareth Taylor was correct in terms of Fowler deserved to start. Fowler deserved the bulk of the minutes. She had a really good end to last season's campaign. And I think, again, when Khadija Shaw was out, she came into that she just led the line and she looked pretty decent. And I do think that Fowler coming into this season, early doors, she proved that she deserved to start on that right hand side. And I understand, and credit to Fowler for that. I think the bit that Gareth Taylor did wrong was freezing Kelly out completely. I wouldn't have done that. I understand. I think he was right, and I agree that Fowler starting for me on that right-hand side was the correct decision. But that didn't mean that Fowler played every single minute and you just kind of forgot about Kelly. And obviously I know Fagino came in, so that added a bit of a spanner in the works with the three of them. But I do think that on Mary Fowler, I think it was the right decision to be giving her as many minutes as possible this season.
Yeah, I think you could make the argument that last season she had a better campaign than Chloe Kelly.
Yeah.
I think she was proving herself to be a better player, and so I can understand why she came into the starting role. I think my confusion with I think the Kelly one's a difficult one. I've always said from the start, I think it's never really been told what the initial bust up was about. I think you can make an educated guess that it's something to do with her not being a starter this season. I imagine at the start of during pre-season, Taylor's gone to her and said, "Look, you're not going to be starting this season." I imagine she's not particularly happy with that.
No.
Now the problem for Man City is in that moment, she's only got a year left on her contract, and so I think in that moment she was very much like, "Well, I want to be the starter." City were like, "Well, if you're not going to sign a new contract, we want to move you on." Similar to Kira Walsh, she was benched.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, they probably could have used Chloe Kelly more in the first half of the season, but if she was always going to leave, I see why they didn't.
Potentially,
it's a very difficult situation to manage, but I imagine that's how it all panned out. And I think while there will be fans who hold on to that sentimental value of Chloe Kelly, I think from a purely tactical decision, I do think Mary Fowler's a better player right now than Chloe Kelly is. There's a reason that Man City made that decision to bring in Fowler at the start of the season. It wasn't simply because Taylor's suddenly got a problem with Chloe Kelly.
Yeah.
I think that has stemmed from wanting to play Fowler rather than Kelly. I think that would be my expectation. But I think Mary Fowler's a better player. I think that's why City look to bring her into the starting fold this season over Chloe Kelly. And obviously Kelly has talent. She's a very good footballer. But there are deficiencies there that I think perhaps aren't as prominent with Mary Fowler. I think that's why Fowler has been so good this season. I think it's been very difficult for teams to handle. So, yeah, she's looked brilliant in a City side who, as you say, haven't been the strongest, haven't been the most dominant team in the league. I think it's been a very, very good campaign. And then the question becomes, well, just how high can she go? How far can she go?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. As we know this weekend, not Kelly, she's gone. Shaw and Caroline look to be fully fit and ready to play. So if those two are to start on in the FA Cup on Sunday with Fowler, what I'm intrigued to see now is that, and I feel for Fowler, is her role in the team going to change now that Shaw, Caroline and Hempert are on their way back, especially the first two there. But I think that...
Well, I think the Caroline transfer certainly muddies the whole Kelly situation a bit more.
Yes, it does make it very... It is, yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's a weird one, but I am intrigued to see what can Fowler... Because, as you say, I think she had a brilliant season. Fowler is thriving off the fact that she was given more minutes, but with their attacking quality coming back, City, is it going to start to... Because they're going to have to rotate in now, Caroline, Shaw, Fowler, Firmino, all into that front three, and then once Hemp's back, it's going to limit Fowler's minutes, and I think that will be a shame for Fowler because she had a good season. But equally, it depends whether Caroline and Shaw hit the ground running. I mean, Khadija Shaw is kind of a given, isn't it? She will turn up and score goals again. No one's going to doubt that. Caroline's the big one because you feel there's pressure on her to come in and deliver, because if she doesn't, then Mary Fowler is going to keep playing every single minute.
I think Fowler will continue to start for now, but it'll sort of be in between Firmino and Caroline.
Yeah,
I think Caroline will come into that starting role relatively quickly. The other thing we saw at the weekend, which was quite interesting, in the Arsenal game, was Fowler playing midfield role. And then again, that does open questions. It shows her versatility and it opens up questions of where is her best position. I definitely think she's better out wide, but she's shown she can play in midfield. She's shown she can play through the middle, and that versatility is really useful to have. As a manager, I'm sure Gareth Taylor will be very pleased to have someone like Fowler who can step up and play a range of roles.
Yeah, I think that does help them as well, because with obviously they've had Miedemar out injured at points of season, and now they've finally realised that she is still a striker. That took a while, but they've finally got there. So if they want to have her as that rotation striker, then maybe you add Fowler as midfield option if you're playing for Gino and Caroline. So
you've got lots of players who can play lots of different positions, which I think is very helpful. I think the City, the makeup of City's attack is really good. The problems for City have come from their defensive weaknesses.
Yeah.
The fact that they've lost Alex Greenwood, who is such a key part of that. The fact that Alexandra keeps making mistakes. The fact that Keaty keeps making mistakes. And a lot of those mistakes come from City's lack of structure. Or effective structure, I should say. Obviously, there is a structure there. It's just not really working at the moment. Teams have realised if you mark Hasegawa, City don't really know what to do in build-up, and it has been a huge issue. And now the question comes as how quickly will City and how quickly will Gareth Taylor adapt to that? And will it be too little too late? They've lost now in the league to Manchester United and Arsenal. They weren't good against Aston Villa, conceded 2 goals in that game. Their strength and attack bailed them out there. But how long can that continue? They've still got some tough games coming up over the next few weeks. They play Chelsea again at the end of March. which is only 7 weeks, 6 weeks away now. So there are a lot of questions around Manchester City, but I think one player who has been incredibly dependable this season has been Mary Fowler. And so I think her name deserves to be up there with some of the best in the league. Most goal contributions, you can't argue against that, really.
You can't. If only she could, if she was versatile enough to play centre half or goalkeeper, that would help them out a lot. But she's not quite that good, but has still had a really, really good campaign. And if City do need to find a new way to play, and if they need to find a way to up their performances, use Fowler, because she's in incredible form and could really drive this team. She's doing her best, really, to drive City forward right now. And they've got to hope that she can continue to do that.
Yeah, and obviously, talking internationally, it's going to be a very exciting prospect for Australia. A lot of young talent coming through. Obviously, you've got Kyra Cooney-Cross as well at Arsenal in terms of young talent. And then Mary Fowler. I think World Cup 27, only 2 years away now. Yeah. You're still going to have a 33-year-old Sam Kerr at that tournament. It looks like it'll be a very competitive Australia team.
Actually, I think you could say it's pretty similar to City right now. Really good going forward, a great midfield, but defensively, I still think they could struggle slightly. So maybe Mary Fowler can do what she's doing for the Matildas, what she's doing for City, do it on the international stage in a couple of years' time. But as I said, it's very that again. If she keeps playing as well as she is, she could turn up that tournament and take we obviously with a couple. She'll have help from the players you just mentioned there, but go and take the Aussies far. Might take them deep into the World Cup and see what happens.
Yeah, very, very good. Anyway, that rounds up, I think, everything we want to speak about today. Do get involved in the comments below. Leave us your thoughts on Mary Fowler, just how good a player you think she is. So do get involved down there. If you are new to the channel, make sure to hit subscribe. I'm sure we'll have some Aussies watching this. So if you are new, haven't watched our content before, then please do hit that subscribe button. That, though, is everything from us today. We'll be back this weekend with more live streams. Harry, you're here for the FA Cup action on Sunday. And then, of course, we're back with WSL in the weeks following that. So exciting times ahead. We've got the Champions League draw earlier today, which we haven't seen yet at the time of recording, but that's going to be really interesting to see who's drawn out there. But that is everything from us today. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we will see you next time.
See ya.